Hey there, you're listening to the Not So Breakfast Show with Sasha and Ish. Alright, you are listening to the Not So Breakfast Show, the podcast for leadership and career development, and today we're talking about why you should quit your job. We're also going to look at why you shouldn't quit your job. Let's look at both ends of this conversation. Interesting topic at this time. Plus, are you this person?
And what I know as an employer now, that when any of my team come to me and say, we should be doing this, I'm like, yes, can you do that? And if they go, no, I just think we should be. I'm like, who's we? We is just the people in this building. So what?
You and your invisible army.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure this term is meant to be literal.
Suck it up, buttercup. Oh, excuse me.
Plus, don't hold back, Sash. Just say it how it is.
The energy that you're getting from your workplace is often a reflection of the energy you're putting into your workplace. And if you're just a little Eeyore storm cloud of bad juju, then don't expect that workplace is going to be fun to be in, either for you or for anybody else.
Anyway, that's the show. Let's get it.
Hang on a minute. Can we just check my position? Can you know how I bang the table? Okay, can you hear that?
No.
Okay, no, I'm good.
Okay, you're ready.
Okay, let's go.
All right, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, episode 89, and today the topic is why you should quit your job. And then we'll look at the flip side of that, why you shouldn't quit your job. But man, some jobs out there, I don't know. Do you just quit them, Sash?
Well, it is great to be here today on this topic. I've had the same job for 20 odd years now, so I'm not a quitter. I'm not instinctively a quitter. I haven't moved much in my time. But when I have, I think I did it for the right reasons, and I'm really pleased I did. So I'm excited to get into this, because certainly all the rage right now is talk about quiet quitting. So this phenomena where people are not quitting, but they're doing the bare minimum to keep their jobs. And there's a really interesting discussion between employers, employees about what's reasonable to expect in the workplace from both sides. So I think it's really nice to be having this conversation.
Yeah, definitely, because it does feel like sometimes you get to a point and you kind of go, should I do something else? Should I stick it out? Should I really just try and find opportunity where I am? And those are good questions to be asking. But maybe if we put a few reasons on why you should quit on the table, they might resonate with you.
Should I stay or should I go now? Dun, 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 trouble. Dun, 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 double. Maybe it's double and then trouble.
Good. Okay. Good. All right. Reason number one you should quit your job is you just hate it. When you go in there, it makes you feel sick to your stomach. You're nervous about going in there. There's anxiety. You just hate it. You walk away at the end of the day frustrated. Have you ever had one of those jobs, Sash?
No, but I've had situations like that. So I had a boyfriend once and I didn't know how to dump him. But every time I came, if I thought about him, if I thought about being in the same room as him, if I thought about ringing him, and it was just like, no, can't, yuck, hate, and it became this big thing, and it's really bad for your health. So I know that you and I are kind of both in the camp of suck it up, buttercup, do the work, feed your family, pay the mortgage, we all got bills. But there absolutely comes a time when you have to recognise when your soul is being crushed into a million little pieces in the meat grinder of your job. And particularly now that there's such, and most places around the world are screaming out for good quality staff, you can go somewhere else, do something else with people who will value and love you.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my first jobs, it was in a restaurant, and the initial owners that I worked for were great, and then they sold the business. And of course, we were sold with the business, obviously being the workers in the business. And the second lot of owners that came in, they were awful to work for. Awful. Changed the culture, changed everything about it. Just not great employers. And I hated it. I was so angry at the end of the night because of the way that they just dealt with the stuff. And I packed it in. I was done.
Isn't that interesting? Because previously you'd loved the job.
Yep.
You loved the role. You loved what you were doing. It was just about the people.
Yeah.
And if you can't change the people because they're the bosses, then get out. That's, have I told you about my dad quitting one of his jobs. I mean,
No.
Dad has started and quit a lot of jobs in his time. He's amazing like that. But he was working in Queensland on, I was going to say the Gold Coast, but Queensland's a bit further north than that, in Australia. And he was working as like a kitchen hand. And he had this note from the chef that said, before you leave, drain the soup. And so he had to take the chicken bones out of the soup and leave the soup behind. And so what happened at the end of the night was Dad went in and he put the colander into the sink, and then he poured the soup down the sink, and then what was left was the chicken bones, and all the soup had gone down the plug hole. So he just decided that the best thing to do was to pick up his coat and never go back to that place ever again. So that's what he did.
That would be such an easy mistake to do, though. If you were
you're just watching this soup going down the drain, going, "Oh no, this is not right."
Okay, number 2 of the reasons why you should quit your job is it's not developing you. There's no growth in it, there's no stretch in it, and they're not prepared to invest in you to develop you further. They're just paying for a job.
Yeah, and this might even include the fact that you get more opportunity to do new things. And so employers go, look, I'm giving you this opportunity to do something new and stretch yourself. But if you don't get some development along with it, it just becomes a drowning experience. So this is an opportunity to say, I'm not going to stay here and be made to feel like it's my fault that I can't do this new thing you've asked of me with no training or no support, no resource put into me. That's not fair.
Number 3 is your values are misaligned. And I think this is important because I think if you want to really do something that you love and do something that you're passionate about, there has to be a congruency between the business values that you have and your values. I think a business can pay you a lot of money to do something, but it can be soul destroying when it's not something that you fully believe in. And then you just end up there kind of going, well, I feel like a parasite. I'm just taking a paycheck because it's paying me really well. But actually my values are completely misaligned with the business, and the only reason I'm staying is for the money. And, that is a hard reason to quit over, but it might be something you want to consider.
Well, I think it's interesting that this can sometimes be that you love the job, you love the industry, you love the role, but the way your company does business, the values don't align. So it might be that you have some, not illegal practices, but they kind of just feel a bit unethical or a bit dodgy, or people are played off against each other, or clients, there's not transparency around stuff that you think there should be. There's that kind of values misalignment. And then there's the misalignment that comes from you're in an industry that you do not support or believe in.
Yeah.
So for example, I don't think I'd ever want to work in the gambling industry, because I see the social harm that it does. I don't think I could work for a cigarette company because I see the harm that it does. Some people would say, oh, yes, but you own and help run Coffee Culture, and you certainly sell a lot of cake. And I'm like, yeah, we do, but the level of harm that comes from having a piece of cake too often, to my mind, is not the same as, it's not inherently bad for society, what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we're talking about whether values do or don't connect. I thought of another job my dad walked out on.
Okay.
Different job in Queensland. He was a surfie and he was a waiter. And I think it was something like the French rugby team came in and he was supposed to take their orders, and they just were all speaking French to him. There were too many of them. There was like 20 in the travelling party, and it all got hard. And so he just went to the maitre d' and said, it's been great, but I'm going. So the French rugby team were there. They'd placed their orders, and their orders did not make it to the kitchen that day. And hopefully they lost and Australia beat them and go teams down under. That's not, I mean, we got a whole nother episode on how to quit. This is just about whether or not to quit.
It's so funny. It's given me flashbacks of that job that I quit originally, because similar situation, well, very similar. So I was kind of short order cooking, and the lady that worked there was bringing me in the tickets from the table, but I couldn't read them. And I remember her name was Melissa. And I said, Melissa, I cannot read your writing. I need it to be clear. What was it? She's like, oh, you figure it out. Just do it. So I started screwing up all her tickets and putting them in the rubbish. And then all of a sudden she came back in and said, my tables are complaining because I haven't got any food. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I and quit pretty much that night.
Yeah, good.
Another reason to quit would be that you're stuck. So you're in a role and there's no up. You can't get the top job because it's not available and you're not in a position to get it. And there's no other opportunity for you to grow into another position that maybe has more remuneration, more responsibility. So you're literally just stuck. You're as high as you can go.
Yes, and that's okay for a period of time, and if you are getting fulfillment in other areas of your life, but eventually it starts to eat away at you. I don't believe that we have to always be pushing, but I do think if we're not always slightly moving forward, then we're going backwards. I don't think there is such a thing as just staying still when it comes to your workplace or your personal development or your parenting or whatever it is. We have to be moving towards something.
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-Minute Presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-Minute Presenter program. Yeah. And number 5 is you're not adding value. And when I say not adding value, maybe it's just you're just not great at your job. At some point, that's going to be brought into the light or exposed that you're really not adding value, not great at it. And that could have other consequences. So sometimes it's quit before you're fired, or you're just recognizing that actually this is just not the right job for you and you need to be doing something else.
And that can be competence, and it's okay to acknowledge that. I know the only law job I ever had, they wanted someone who had 2 years experience. And I didn't have 2 years experience, but I must have interviewed very well. And so they gave me the job. But there wasn't, the excuse I tell myself is there wasn't the support around me to help me get to be where a lawyer with 2 years experience would be. So I was just making stuff up, not in a telling lies kind of a way, but every time a job came across my desk, I had to pull on all these external resources to ask, how do I go about doing this? Nobody had time or the inclination to tell me, and it soon became apparent that I wasn't delivering value to the law firm. I mean, in terms of what they were paying me, massive value because they were paying me nothing. But, it was clear that it wasn't going to work. Something had to change, and if they weren't going to change to offer more support, then I needed to change, which I did. I left and went back to earning 3 times as much at Les Mills. Yay!
Woohoo! Yay, Les Mills. Okay, so recapping those 5, you hate it, it's not developing you, your values are misaligned, you're stuck, or you're not adding value. And now why don't we flip it and kind of look at maybe 5 reasons why you shouldn't quit your job.
Yeah, why should you stay in a job that's not really meeting all of your needs?
One thing I would bring up is there's just one person that's an asshole that you don't get on with. You love the rest of your co-workers, you love the rest of your job, and there's just one person that's causing you issues. I wouldn't quit because of that one person. 1, they may not stay. And 2, it could be giving you a false perception of actually the reality of how much you do love the job because of this one person.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about they might leave. I'm always staunchly smoke the other person out. It's like Survivor, outwit.
You would be going after them, mate.
Outwit, outlast, outplay. I got you. You can't wear me down. But you do need to have some strategies for coping with someone like that, because I think what happens is it's kind of like an itch. Once you start scratching that itchy bite, it gets itchier and itchier. So once you've clocked on to the fact that this person is pissing you off, the risk is everything they do pisses you off.
Yeah.
when even if another person did it, you wouldn't be so annoyed. So you need some kind of strategies for how can you minimize the impact of that person in your life. And what ideas have you got around that?
Well, first of all, you probably need to define exactly, is this just someone who frustrates you, or is this like a bullying type of situation? Because they're completely different. You know, the person that's slightly annoying that you have to work with, get over it. Figure out a way to work together better. Like just adjust your own behavior or have the conversation and say, look, I want to have a better working relationship. How do we do it? Now, if it's a bullying type situation, then you need to get some really good coping strategies, some really good help with that. But the perspective is if everybody around you doesn't like you, it's you.
Yeah.
You're the problem.
Yeah. I think absolutely if it's anything like bullying, and then you go to your HR department. If you don't have an HR department, you go to somebody that can help you with that. Nobody should tolerate someone being really horrible to you in your workplace day in, day out. But how can you minimize the impact of someone who's just a bit annoying? And partly we get there through empathy, to recognize that we're all just different. We all have quirks, and the way that you choose to operate is not right. It's just one of the ways. So if this person likes to make their decisions slowly and you like to go quickly, then how do you adjust for that? How do you flex? If they are annoying in the way they, walk into the office every day, how do you find a way to tune that out and not let that annoy you? And sometimes that's just a matter of perspective.
Yeah. Don't quit because you're tired.
Oh,
one
preach.
One of the little quotes we wrote on our Instagram page the other day was...
Did we? I love that for us. Thanks, Ish. I think we had a committee meeting to sign off our Instagram posts. This is very annoying, the way you work. I'm going to HR about you bullying me.
I'm using my inclusive language, Sash.
Thank you.
So the quote was, when you get tired, learn to rest, not quit.
Oh,
and it was from Banksy. Banksy's awesome. I love his art. But her art, who knows?
Their art.
But I love that. I think sometimes when we get tired, we might be thinking, well, if I just step out, I'm just going to go away. But actually, maybe you just need to have a rest, but within the job that you have. So I wouldn't quit just because you're tired.
And the way to assess this is to take a break, come back to work refreshed. And if you still feel like quitting and there's something else for you, great. There's no harm in quitting. Quitting is not an evil, bad word. Like, I think quitting is amazing when it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
But you want to be doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Next reason not to quit would be you think the grass will be greener. So let's say it's like, I'm going to get a bit more money to work for this company to do exactly the same thing as I'm doing now. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a better place to work. And as we've talked about, money will only get you so far to enjoy a role. And then after that, the problems tend to persist or could show. So if you are thinking, well, if I just work for this other company, things will be better, that may not be true. Again, you could be the problem and you just take it with you.
And this is so true if you've got someone who's annoying in your workplace. You go, okay, I can't possibly work with them anymore. I'm going to go and work at place X, only to discover that place X is full of more people that annoy you. And I know I discovered this. It wasn't the only reason that I left Les Mills, at one of the many times I've left Les Mills in my career. But on this occasion, how I'd felt was I didn't feel like there were people in my work environment that were interested in the same things that I was interested in. So I'm interested in politics and world events, and I felt as though people in my working teams were all about, what's the best nutrition and diet you can be on in order to show more of your abs. And that might not have been a fair characterization, but it's how I was experiencing the workplace at that time. And I thought, guys, there's just so much going on in the world that we don't even discuss at our lunch break. And I'm sure I've mentioned this before. So I resigned and went and practiced law. And nobody in the law firm wanted to talk about any of the things that I wanted to talk about either. They all just wanted to talk about what was the best way to lose weight and how to show their abs. And it was a really kind of... it was quite a watershed moment in my life where I realized that people are people are people are people. And it doesn't matter where you are, what interests people are, is what's topical around them on any given day. So you have to be active about what kind of culture you want to be a part of and perhaps get those interest needs met elsewhere, not just look to your work colleagues to be the source of all the things that are interesting
I love
or
it.
that you're interested in.
I love it, Sash. That was
The grass
great.
was not greener. It was much worse. The work was harder. I was paid less. Not all of them, but some of the people were real dicks. And I'd never come across that. In my Les Mills environment, I was working with great people who had really good hearts all of the time.
Awesome. Another reason not to quit is you're bored.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a little bit like the Tide one, but you're bored. It feels like you're just, I'm just doing the same thing. There is opportunity around you if you can see it. It may feel like you're stuck, but you're not really stuck. There is opportunity there, but you're not either seeing it, grasping it, or putting yourself forward. So if you're bored, have the conversation with your manager, have the conversation with your company. Say, I want to find some more interesting things, and have a chat about it.
I've often found in workplaces that I've been like, we should be doing this thing. And what I know as an employer now, that when any of my team come to me and say, we should be doing this, I'm like, yes, can you do that? And if they go, no, I just think we should be. I'm like, who's we? We is just the people in this building. So why?
You and your invisible army.
Yeah, why don't you give it a go? So I can't recall a time that someone's come to me with a proposal for something. I mean, unless it required $1 million of investment. If they said, hey, I want to have a go at this. Could we try this? Yes, let's. Let's give that a go. Let's try it. Make an opportunity for yourself to try something new or to explore a different way of doing things.
Yeah, it's a really good way to test as well whether that type of work will interest you, because otherwise you could just abandon everything you've got to go and pursue this thing, and then you get into it and you go, oh, actually, nah, that's not for me. Like the lawyer thing, right? If there was a way for you to have scratched that itch or tested that maybe in the environment that you're in now, you might have gone, actually, that's not for me.
Totally. That's exactly right.
Okay, last reason is you have a track record of quitting jobs. Now, when we read CVs, though, we're looking for little trends like that. And if you're seeing about 12 months and the person's moving on into other employment, and that's a consistent thing, often the best evidence of future performance is past performance. So sometimes those track records could come back and bite you in the ass. Whereas actually, if you realize that, you know what, I'm going to stick this out a little bit longer, I'm going to get some runs on the board, I'm going to get some development opportunity within the role that I am in now, so it sets me up for the next job, not just repeating the same behavior over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah, a couple of things I want to say here. One is the stats are on your side if you're a repeated quitter. So what I mean by that is you will earn more money at the end of your career if you change roles or companies on a 2 or 3 yearly basis. So if someone stays with the same company for 10 years, they will be paid less than someone who went 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, and then joined that company. So, for the likes of Ish and me, who've worked for the same companies for a long time, we've got to keep banging on the door and saying, actually, if you're going to recruit someone external, here's what I'm worth now. So keep an eye on that. Those are 2-year or 3-year intervals. If, like Ish says, you are leaving every year, every 6 months, that doesn't build up your career credibility. That makes you look like a fly-by-nighter. And nobody wants a fly-by-nighter.
No. They want to see some resilience. They want to see a little bit of stickability. And if, like you said, if you are jumping around jobs, there will be growth from that as long as you play each job for the right reason.
And it takes 3 to 6 months to get somebody up to speed. So from an employer's perspective, they want to see that if they invest that time in getting you inculcated in the company culture and understanding what's important within the organisation, the payback comes after month 6 and sometimes not even till after a year.
Yeah.
So that's why employers are so nervous about people who hop around.
Yeah. Should we also look at the other thing that you may want to have a look at if you have that serial track record of leaving, even if it's a little bit longer, is why did you leave each job? So was it because there was no opportunity or I didn't like it there? Because again, we keep joking about this, but maybe you're the problem. Like maybe you're just in a role and you're creating this same environment that you left last time in exactly the same way because of the way that you work, because of the way that you show up. You are causing that. And then when you leave, everyone's pretty happy, to be honest.
And maybe you have unrealistic expectations of how work should go. And we see this, I mean, we laugh about it, but we increasingly see this with the younger generation about what they expect from a job. And I think the tension is really good because it's forcing us to evaluate what is reasonable to expect of people in terms of staying late or doing a job that might not be in your job description. I'm not employed to do that. You say no, but it's snowing, so someone has to sweep the snow. Yeah, well, nobody told me that one. You know, you get all that kind of tension between what's been spelt out and what hasn't. And so I think it's a good conversation to be having about what's fair and reasonable to expect people to do. But equally, from the employee side, life is not all roses.
Yeah.
And if you're expecting to come into the job and have everyone put up an sort of an honour arch for you to walk through every morning as if you were getting married and say, thank you, Sarah, bless you for coming to work today, that's not going to happen. So you want to look to see where are you getting your contentment from and what do you expect? And just check in with yourself. The energy that you're getting from your workplace is often a reflection of the energy you're putting into your workplace. And if you're just a little Eeyore storm cloud of bad juju, then don't expect that workplace is going to be fun to be in, either for you or for anybody else.
So recapping through our 5 reasons not to quit your job. Don't quit because one person's an asshole. Maybe you can work that out. Don't quit because you're tired. You'll still be tired. And then you'll just be tired when you go into your next job. Don't quit because you think the grass will be greener. Don't quit because you're bored. And don't quit if you've got a serial track record of quitting, or at least analyse why you are leaving. So
yeah, hang in there. Just stay one more month.
One more. That's
more.
it.
And
Just
then
a
one
little bit
month.
more.
And then one more month.
What are you watching? You watching anything, Sash? On the Netflix or the Neon or the Prime Video or the Disney Plus?
Or the Apple TV? No, I've been snowboarding. I've been taking my old lady legs up the mountain. And it's
go,
so
Sash.
good to be out in the snow and the fresh air. And Pushy's been learning to snowboard too. She's skied a little bit, never really mastered it, wants to get the hang of snowboarding. So we've been up the mountain together and we are hilarious. It actually led to a really good discussion about value for money. Like, what is value for money? So let's say we paid, I don't know, $120 for my ski pass, $80 for hers for a day.
Yeah.
So there's people who get up the mountain at 8 a.m. and they do run after run after run and they stop for lunch, value for money. Her and I do a couple of runs and we look at each other and go, that was amazing, but my feet are a little bit sore. Knees hurt. Let's go get some lunch. And then we go, oh, should we do a couple more runs? Should we do 2 more, 1 more, 3 more? And we looked at each other, oh, definitely not 3. So if you do $1 per run, we probably are paying the most for our runs. But we're having the best time because we're in a beautiful environment, we're spending time together, we're learning new skills, and we both feel enormously satisfied with our experience. So for us, the value for money is huge.
That's so cool.
But not measured in the same way that other people would, and that's okay.
I watched the first episode of House of Dragons.
Oh, the prequel to Game of Thrones, yeah?
Yeah. And I realised why I don't watch Game of Thrones.
See, I thought you were the avoid the violence guy.
Yeah, well, I forgot. And I was like, oh, I'll just watch the first one.
No.
It's awful.
I mean, that's
if you're
the
into
baby
Game of
one,
Thrones...
right?
Oh, no.
I want to apologise, Ish. I'm sorry. If you had asked me beforehand, I haven't watched it, but I've read the internet, I've read the whole internet, I would have been able to advise you to avoid that. Sorry, mate. Sorry that I let you down there.
Oh, that's okay. I watched This Is Us afterwards, and that was kind of put me back in a nice frame of mind. So, yeah.
I've been having a little bit of trouble sleeping. There's a bit going on and coming back from the US, and then of course I went to Wales and then came back, so my sleep patterns are a little bit all over the place. So at 3 a.m. I've been wide awake and I watched this British quiz show called Only Connect. It is so hard and it's full of geeks and just the most unbelievable collection of people who are interested in really quirky things, and I love it. So I know I shout out about Only Connect from time to time, but find it on YouTube. I just put it on beside my bed, I watch it, and then I just drift off to sleep while they keep talking about stuff. It's a beautiful thing, and I'd love to hear from anyone who's also watched Only Connect and shares my passion. Could you let me know so I don't feel so alone in the universe?